Control Players Unite.
Hey Control Nation, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dr. Red. In this video, we are talking about the status of Control in the post-rotation 2025 meta, and how is Control doing? The short answer is not good. With the rise of Dragapult EX and Gardevoir EX, playing Control has increased in difficulty given how well these archetypes match against it, to say nothing of Goldengo EX's power and Pecharunt's poison ability not making things easy either. In addition, a number of archetypes are including a single copy of Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX, a Control staple, to use against Control style decks in that Ogerpon's attack Demolish cuts through all effects on one's Control Pokemon. There's also another problem: rotation itself. The premier Control style deck in the meta prior to rotation was Pidgeot Control, illustrated here by Alessandro Cremascoli's second place deck at the Stockholm Regional. Note that his missed energy is cut off at the bottom. What does this deck lose to 2025 rotation? Luxray V, Rotom V, Lumineon V, Mawile, Radiant Serena, Silene, Thornton, Hisuian Heavy Ball, Lost Vacuum, Forest Sealstone, and Double Turbo Energy. That's 11 cards. The other major Control style deck before rotation was Block Snorlax, illustrated here by Nicholas Kristen's 7th place deck. On top of what we already mentioned, this deck lost Snorlax itself, Misfortune Sisters, Team Yell's Cheer, Trekking Shoes, and Pokestop. Not to mention, these decks are also losing Roseanne's Backup, Lost City, Collapse Stadium, and Regieleki. That's 20 cards on top of however many others we don't have time to list. It's so bad, even famous Pidgeot Control player James Kowalski, also known as All Out Blitzel, switched to Raging Bolt EX because he couldn't figure out the Dragapult matchup. Just unfortunately couldn't make Pidgeot Control work. The link to the interview is in the description. And with Snorlax having rotated out, what are we going to do? No, we're not going to cry. We're going to lay out our options. To make it easier to understand, let's use a scale to find out what's available. First, there's Pure Aggro. These are decks that just KO everything and win by taking prizes. Then we have Pure Control. These are decks that do not take prizes and win by outvaluing your resources over your opponent, and the opponent either decks out or outright concedes. And then we have Control Mill, which is a control deck with decking out as a legit possibility with the cards one plays, rather than waiting for your opponents to wear themselves out. Next we have Aggro Mill. You win by simultaneously taking prizes and milling your opponent. And last we have Aggro Control, which is a win by simultaneously taking prizes and outvaluing your resources over your opponent. It includes strategies like Retreat Lock and Ability Lock as major components to your win condition. Oh, and then we have Mill, which is kind of just floating up in the clouds somewhere. Right now, there aren't any viable pure control decks in the format. Control Mill would be something like Pidgeot Control with a bunch of Mill cards, which is, as of now, not viable. Aggro Control is completely legit and viable, as is Aggro Mill. And of course, Pure Aggro is seemingly always viable, but we're not covering aggro decks. Oh, and yes, Mill is semi-viable. With that in mind, what's your best prospect to win something? You have two options. First, if you want to try Pidgeot Control, here's what it could look like. Minimally, you'd add Baby Toadstool to stop energies and Pokemon from returning to your opponent's hand, Nocli and Ethan's Sudowoodo for Retreat Lock as well as copying opponent's attacks, Lily's Clefairy EX to weaken Raging Bolt EX and Dragapult EX, Redeemable Ticket as a substitute for Hisuian Heavy Ball, and Calamitous Wasteland for more Retreat Lock, especially on basics. There are any number of possibilities here, but we want to showcase just one. And second, the only other major meta option at this time is Wall Stall. It's an aggro-controlled damage prevention deck. Milotic EX prevents all damage and effects of attacks from Terra Pokemon, Farigiraf EX prevents all damage from basic EX Pokemon, Cornerstone Mask EX prevents all damage from Pokemon with abilities, Mimikyu prevents damage from all Pokemon EX, and Monkey Dory is there to heal damage and encourage KOs. The problem with this archetype is that more and more decks are teching against it, like the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, but it's still worth playing. There's also a Wall Stall variant with Yanmega EX, which accelerates 3 grass energy on evolution and moves those 3 energies onto the bench upon attack. Its main attacker is Crustle, which is immune to damage from EX Pokemon, and it has the Shred attack, which affects weakness, so it can one-shot something like Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX. You might also include a one-off to Dunsparce EX for hitting all EX Pokemon at once, maybe even using its own Shred Attack as well. And you say to me, but Dr. Red, what if I don't like those options? Well, young Grasshopper, you have a handful of other archetypes. We'll review 5 of your better choices. First, we have Flareon Box with an emphasis on Sylveon EX's Angelite attack, which will shuffle into your opponent's deck any 2 benched Pokemon, though the attack cannot be used 2 turns in a row. Everything else serves to energize and take knockouts. Yes, the attack is that powerful to be worth playing and emphasizing. Second, Frost Last Spread and all of its variants. You can pair pretty much anything you want with this archetype. We've chosen to emphasize its basic form, which is Retreat Log with Maractus, a finisher in Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, and a bunch of Monkey Dories to heal and spread damage. Don't forget the Technical Machine Devolutions to take KOs and win. Third, we have Hydreigon EX. There aren't any regional placings yet, so this first place online tournament build will suffice. Essentially, mill KO your opponent with Hydreigon and use Maractus as a retreat locking backup and or stall tactic while you set up your Hydreigon. Petron EX prevents retreat lock while getting Hydreigon into the active spot, and Lily's Clefairy EX makes the Raging Bolt and Dragapult matchups much easier. Fourth, we have an old friend in Iron Thorns EX. This Quad Thorns build has the rarely used Medical Energy, which heals 30 damage upon attachment. It also comes with 2 copies of Giovanni's Charisma to mess with your opponent's attachments for turn. You can also try another variant with Monkey Dory for healing and Mimikyu for damage prevention. You could also try mixing up the basic energies and playing Crispin for easier acceleration. Last, we have Great Tusk Mill. This build prevents a deck out with a 3-3 lineup to Dunsparce, including 2 copies of Fan Rotom to find Dunsparce on turn 1. Also has the Fluttermane for ability lock/stall, and Neutralization Zone to prevent Great Tusk from being KO'd, but you might want to wait till the end of the match to use it if you can. Everything else is standard, though the one-off inclusion of Meddling Memo is of note. And actually, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple other options too. Aegislash is a Stage 2 Mimikyu/Crustle with the Shred Attack, often paired with Badoo Item Lock and Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX. And for Ralligator is paired with Milotic EX, Monkey Dory for healing, and Relicanth for both hit and run and retreat locking with its previous evolutions. If you need any help with these or any of the archetypes mentioned, please check out the CPU Discord, link in the description. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. What did I miss? Where am I wrong? Please leave a comment. Take care of yourselves, and may God hold you in the palm of his hand.